Hey Capricorn, I want to go ahead and get into your reading. I've shuffled your cards. I'm going to do a little bit more shuffling and then we will get into it for June 2019. I hope you guys are well. June 2019, sign of Capricorn, Sun, Moon, Rising, and Venus. I'm going to do a Celtic cross, Capricorn. All right. Okay. So the first card you have is the Hierophant. Could be dealing with the Taurus. Capricorn, the Hierophant, it's interesting. It talks about society. It talks about social understanding. It talks about connections to people that we have had in our lives that, it's like where we are part of the group. It could be dealing with, counseling, school, but a lot of the times it's addressing where we fit within society, how we've grown up around society, like what dictates our experiences sometimes, and sometimes how we need to step away from that and do our own thing. It can talk about connection in relationships in regard to unity. It can talk about marriage. I'm not going to say, oh, Capricorn, you're getting married. We'll see with the other cards if that's indicated, but I think it's sometimes a little bit foolish for readers to just say, yes, you're getting commitment. Like, how often does that happen? A lot of the time this card talks about hidden things within society, the things that we don't talk about but are the driving force. Let's keep going. So that's the main energy. The obstacle is the Eight of Swords in reverse. So good. So maybe Eight of Swords in reverse talks about getting out of our head. It talks about no longer creating stagnant situations in our mind, creating storylines where we just hold on to things. If you have been in a situation, Capricorn, where you've been running within the status quo, you've been having to deal with that constantly, keeping up with the Joneses. What are they going to think? What am I going to think? What does my family think? Is this acceptable? Like, does the church accept it? Am I going out of my religion? Like, all of these conditionings. The Hierophant is about conditioning. It's about spiritualism as well, but it's about conditioning. And sometimes we have to release ourselves from the conditioning that we've experienced within our life, within our understanding. And when we do that, we give ourselves the opportunity to work within that energy, but from our own standpoint. A lot of the time, I'm a big fan of the Hierophant in reverse. For me, this is often how I live much of my life. This is going against the status quo. It is doing things on your own, in your own way, finding different ways about how to experience life. It's like you have the tools, but then you just do it your own way. It's bucking the system. It's being unconventional in certain ways. And with the Eight of Swords in reverse, it's almost as if the obstacle has been to let this type of energy go, not stagnate in it with our mind. Base of the reading, you have the Seven of Swords. So that's some harsh energy too. That's lying, stealing, cheating. It's being deceptive in many ways. Some of you could be dealing with a Taurus where that was a situation. But here, again, it's like we have this call to recognize where we are being impeded by society, impeded upon by the things that make sense for us, or don't date Black people because that goes out of your religion, or, whatever like social agreement you think that you have had or kept. Like it's kind of turning it upside down, because with that Seven of Swords, it's realizing where that's toxic. It's realizing where those energies are not healthy for us. And it frees them up, especially with the Eight of Swords in reverse. That's talking about allowing things to move forward in life where we're not stagnating any further. It can also, I do want to mention the Eight of Swords can talk about lying, can talk about a fair amount of lying as well. I do want to mention that, especially here with this Seven of Swords presented. Now, that's not going to be for every single person, but for those of you that it does make sense for, that may be a bit for you. You know, that maybe somebody could be a Taurus person lying to you, making you feel like you're a puppet. But that could also be a situation where you've been dealing with larger, like the Hierophant also talks about companies, corporations, you know, where may not have the easiest dealing with them. You know, they can be quite treacherous a lot of the time. I've worked in corporate before and I loathed every second of it. That's not my thing. That's why I'm a tarot reader. That's why I do physical rehabilitation. That's why I do energy work. Like, which, like, what do you want? You know, I do different things and I don't fit within the norm and I don't choose to. And there's no point in it for me because that connection is not important for me. I don't care what people think about me. I don't. Recent past energy of the Queen of Swords. So Aquarius, Libra, Gemini energy. The Queen of Swords is somebody who is, they want the truth. They want the justice within the matter. They want to have the honesty in exchange with somebody, you know, and they're not really willing to listen to fluff. They're not really willing to get down on their knees and kiss anybody's ass. They want the information and they want it now. And if you can't provide that for them, then so be it, you know. Here, the Queen of Cups, the Queen of Swords, though, it's like, did you have that energy in the past? Was it something that you were wanting to communicate with somebody, or like having to take a deep look at this situation for what it was and recognize the deception within it? You may be at a turning point where it's like, I'm releasing myself out of this. This may have just been the energy to the precursor to now. So now, so we have Justice in reverse for the present energy. So Justice in reverse, again, Libran energy, but that's things that are deceptive. It's not being told the truth. It's having been told one way and having it come out a completely different way, like, you know, being led astray. That can be very confusing, very frustrating, you know. So how do we deal with that? You know, because it feels like something here we've got a connection to either, I don't see any pentacles, but this could also be work related, you know, with the Hierophant, you know, with huge establishments, fucking things up, not being honest with you, causing you a lot of strife and frustration. This could be that. Moving into the future energy of the Six of Wands in reverse. So that's not that great. Like, that's, if you're dealing with a situation where you've had to get legal matters taken, you know, in regard to work, like if you've had to deal with injustice at work, you know, people stealing your ideas, people, you know, stealing things from you, just not doing very well in work because others are against you. And I hate to say that, but like, that's what it feels like here. It doesn't feel like your words or your actions are recognized here, which is very frustrating. Okay. It's almost as if like this entity or the business or job or whatever it is has the power, and, you know, it's us against you, you know, and us is gigantic and you are this peon. You know, that's kind of frustrating energy. You may have tried to communicate with others in the past and not had much success with it, and it still seems like there's not much success with it. So even before going on to any more, because we've got more cards to fill up here, we've got 5 more cards to go. Sorry, 4 more cards to go. How are you feeling about this, Capricorn? Like, I feel that this is job related or something where like we are against like some sort of institution of some sort or way of belief. But the thing is, it feels bigger than that. And it feels like you have no say. It feels like somebody here has no say. they're being redirected and redirected and redirected, and it's like going in circles, but there's nothing going on here. It's like, yeah, okay. I feel like I was going to say something else, though. Okay, if it comes back to me, it will. So your current energy here, you have the Four of Cups in reverse. So that's interesting energy. It's like the Four of Cups in reverse talks about giving to something. It talks about trying again, or trying in general. Like, are you in a situation where you've been mistreated by work or mistreated by a person, and it's like you want to try again, even though everything kind of is stacked up against you, or nothing's really changed and you're still not being recognized, yet you want to try again? Is it the benefit of the doubt in regard to a person, or is it the tenacity to have to deal with something that you know you don't want to in regard to a larger facility, in regard to a larger corporation, or, you know, whatever that may be? And with the Four of Cups in reverse, it's almost as if, like, I almost feel like a tenacity here. It's weird. I'm trying to pick up on the feeling I'm feeling when I see this card, and it's like I'm not giving up. I'm not going to give up. Even though things have not been fair to you up until now, and you're still not being recognized either for your efforts or the movements that you've tried to put towards righting this situation and not writing, you know, making it better. It's still like you're not being recognized for your efforts, or you're not being recognized for something here, and it doesn't look like it's in your favor, but yet you're like, I'm not giving up. All right, so coming toward you, you have the Two of Wands in reverse. Most of your cards are in reverse. I think the only ones upright, the Hierophant, the Queen of Wands, or Swords, and the Seven of Swords. Two of Wands is talking about making decisions. It can talk about letting go and giving up on two ideas in regard to what you want, but it can talk about finally deciding. Two of Wands talks about direction. Which way do I go? It can talk about patience. It can talk about making the right decision, you know, figuring out which one do I, you know, how do I go about this? Some of you may be having to, it's like you may have the will to fight this, but then it's almost as if like there's a point where you're like, ugh, I can't do this anymore. It's almost as if like this entity is bigger than me, or this corporation is bigger than me, and I can't do this anymore. Some of you in the past, you may have come at them with honesty, communication, wanting that in return, and that was not given to you. And I keep feeling tenacity here, like the tenacity to want to fight this or continue on with this. But then it's like almost the Two of Wands being in reverse. It's like having to realize where we let go of it, having to realize where it doesn't make sense for us anymore, you know? Hopes, fears, worries, concerns. We have the Hermit in reverse. So a lot of reversals here, Capricorn. Could be dealing with a Virgo, don't have to be, but the Hermit in reverse, this is essentially an energy where we have looked at a situation in depth, and it's not just, the Hermit in reverse is a spiritual card, but what I'm feeling here is like looking at a situation for what it is and recognizing that the more you delve into it, the more you want to hold on to it and try and make it continue, the more it eats away at you, the more it chips away at you, the more exhausting you become with it. And that becomes detrimental. That becomes problematic in the end. That is not helpful to your cause. And I think here with this Two of Wands in reverse, above the Four of Cups in reverse, it's like you have the will to try, you have the will to continue on, but then we kind of are like evaluating the inside of ourselves, evaluating, does this really work? Does it? I don't think it does. Outcome card, Ten of Swords. So Ten of Swords here is interesting with the Nine of Cups at the bottom of the deck. The Ten of Swords here is interesting as the outcome. This is an end to the situation. It's letting it go. And sometimes letting it go we end up being stabbed in the back. Sometimes with corporations or individuals, we end up being stabbed in the back, not recognized, not seen for our efforts, not seen for our value, and we get shut out. You know, you have no pentacle cards here, like no balance here, but also the stability, the balance is not here, even though this may actually have to do with work in regard. For some of you, this may deal with work. For some of you, this is a person that you've been dealing with, where it's like no matter what you do, no matter what you try, no matter how much opportunity you give the person, you're still met with adversity, you're still met with dishonesty, you're still met with frustration and not moving forward. And sometimes you win when you lose. Sometimes you win when you lose. The Nine of Cups in reverse at the bottom of the deck, presiding over this entire reading, is interesting because it talks about not receiving what you want. It talks about being left out emotionally. It talks about not being recognized emotionally. It talks about wallowing, frustration, especially in this card here. Nine of Cups, usually upright, it's very hopeful and happy, can be abundant. Here we have the Eight of Cups upright, which are highlighted, and then we have the Ace of Cups, which would be the Ninth of Cup, hanging in the center, which is the focal point of everything, but it's in reverse. We're sitting on a bench in front of water, emotions, and it almost looks like there's like a blockade of icebergs behind that ocean, or at least a cliff, impenetrable energy. You know, it's like, just, you know, it's interesting with this Eight of Cups here too. It's like focusing on the idea of walking away, but still hopeful for this one thing. But then we have to realize when that hope to turn this upright, you know, it deceases, it decreases, it's no longer acceptable or available to us. And it's like here, we're contemplating letting go. We're contemplating walking away. And honestly, I think that might be what has to happen here. We have to walk away from a situation. So I'm going to clarify this reading. I'm just figuring out, do I want the Line Strider deck or the After Tarot? Let me feel them. Or the Tough. All right, so Line Strider it is. Interesting too, what just hit me with the Line Strider deck. You'll see this deck, it's cloudy on the back. It's very clear. These cards are very clear. I'm feeling like it's obvious in the cards. It just seems like there's opaque energy here. So much of these cards are so dark around them. There's so much darkness, cloudedness, night, you know, information that's being withdrawn, hidden, things that are not open to you. Show me energy for Capricorn, Sun, Moon, Rising, and Venus. I want to clarify this reading with these cards. So let's look at the Hierophant. What's up with the Hierophant? Well, let me pick up all these cards first. Okay. Ooh. All right. So for the Hierophant, you had this fly out. The Devil. So you may be dealing with somebody. This is your energy, Capricorn, as well. But the Devil in conjunction with this type of energy with the Hierophant, this is more indicative of dealing with corporations that are corrupt, dealing with people that are corrupt, people that are willing to lie to you, deceive you, people that are willing to pull the wool over your eyes, people that are willing to make you believe a certain way and thing and just continue in that path, even though it has nothing to do with what you want. It's deceptive energy, it's toxic energy, it's something that you've been tied to that you may no longer want to be part of. And it's time to let that go. You know, I know you may have had the spirit and will to fight further, but it feels like it's time to let it go. Show me the Eight of Swords in reverse for Capricorn. Temperance popping out. So 2 major arcana so far. Temperance with the King of Swords at the bottom of the deck for Temperance. So in regard to this Eight of Swords in reverse, this talks about letting go of this mental frustration, letting go of the desire to want to hang on to it anymore. Here with Temperance, we have Sagittarian energy, but we also have what balances us out in this? What makes sense for us in this? Is this something that we can maintain? You know, is this an equal and fair exchange? I think it has not been. And I think by you removing yourself from it, whether this be from a person or from like a job situation where you've been dealing with corrupt individuals or industries, like it's important to release that energy. It's important to balance yourself out because nobody else is here and nobody else is really going to do that for you. It's almost you have to advocate for yourself, but by doing that, it's like you remove yourself from the situation. It's too difficult being here. Seven of Swords upright for Capricorn. Seven of Swords. Yeah, here's the Nine of Pentacles for the Seven of Swords. And the Nine of Cups as well for the Seven of Swords. So at the bottom of the deck for this reading, you have the Nine of Cups in reverse. Now it's upright here. And I love this little Nine of Cups. It's so sweet. It reminds me of Marcel. But the Nine of Pentacles, it communicates doing things on your own. I want to mention to you, remember when I said the Hierophant in reverse, like bucking the system, doing things on your own, doing things in your own way, being unconventional. This may be you doing that. It may be you turning your back on that type of work, turning your back on that type of person, turning your back on that type of situation, and going on your own. The Nine of Pentacles talks about doing things on your own. It communicates energies where we are successful at what we put our energy into. The Eight of Pentacles is working, perfecting your craft, and it feels like you've done that, and it feels like you've had a fair amount of adversity. In what I feel that this is very connected to money or society or something here. Work, something where it's bigger than us. It's bigger than us. But it feels like you've done that. You've done your due diligence in that. And it's like now with the information that you've gathered, with the way that you understand your type of job, the way that you go about life, how you can do it, it's almost as if you can do that on your own or you find a different way. It's like you have a niche into something. You have your own way of going about it now, and you choose to do that on your own. That's incredibly potent. But the Nine of Pentacles also talks about being happy and, you know, giving praise to yourself and happiness and accepting the abundance that you bring to your life. You know, if you're dealing with somebody that puts you through the shit, like you're letting it go. It's letting it go. If you're dealing with a corporation of some sort that was very unfair to you, unjust, you're letting it go and you're doing your own thing. And I feel like you are also able to implement some of the things that you were dealing with here into your future in a positive light. Things that they may have taken from you or ideas. Show me the Queen of the Queen of Swords. You have the Emperor flying out. The Emperor, you know, it's interesting. It's Aries energy. The Emperor is somebody who they build their empire. They take care of their life. They take care of the life of others. In regard to you doing that for yourself, it's about being very honest in regard to where you're at with yourself in your life and what you want to deal with, and taking the reins of your life and making what you want out of it, really stabilizing things and really doing things well. And Capricorn's excellent at that. I mean, not everybody, not all Capricorns. I don't want to say that you're all amazing at work and finance and like you're good at that, but like there's a thread within Capricorn where you guys can be very steadfast and sturdy and diligent, and you make things happen, and you have a fair amount of emotional intelligence, and you're able to look at things in a lens of, it's almost as if you have that emotional aspect through looking at stuff, but you can also do it from a logical aspect too, and from one where it's like we can see what makes money, what makes stability in my life, you know, how am I giving to this, who am I giving to that, like, and how are they returning it to me? And when you realize that maybe this wasn't the situation for you, that gives you the opportunity to move forward positively and taking the reins of your life in your own hands. Now, in regard to the Hierophant, because I'm feeling like I need to say this in two different ways. If this is in connection to the Hierophant, this is almost as if we are dealing with entities that are bigger than us. There's no room for us to make input. There's no room for us to change anything. We may contribute to things and they may utilize that, which changes things, but it's in their favor. This is not an easy card to deal with. It's not an easy energy to deal with, especially with the Hierophant and the Devil. This is energy that's run awry. It's corporations that do what corporations do best. You know, they rule, you know, and have you ever worked in a corporation where they're like rules upon rules upon rules that are stupid and inane and absolutely nonsensical, yet we have to pay attention to the rules, you know, like there's no diverting. Like here, it's like it's if you're up against that energy, there's no winning with that, no matter how many times you try to have honest and open conversations, no matter how many times you try to be gentle and understanding, like there's no point in communicating. And I think you're kind of getting this now. I think you're understanding. If you're dealing with a person, it's almost as if you've been dealing with somebody that has not been, it's like they're unyielding and they don't open up. It's their way or the highway, and that's that. And that's not healthy, okay? So Justice in reverse. I'm sorry, I got the deck upside down. Justice in reverse, we have the Hierophant. So, and this is a beautiful Hierophant card. I love this. Yeah, I feel things that are held under lock and key will remain under lock and key. It's almost as if it feels like secret society type stuff. And I don't mean to be like, you know, conspiracy theorist or anything like that. I'm not talking about Illuminati. What I'm talking about is you're up against a situation where things are under lock and key and it's going to remain under lock and key. You know, you may have been mistreated, but it remains that way. It's not going to change. You know, you're up against an entity that is bigger than you and it's not going to shift. It's unyielding. Show me the Six of Wands. And it's more of that, energy. It's that Hierophant twice now. It's that energy where this is the status quo. This is how it's done. This is how it's always going to be done. And you are either a part of it or you're not. You're going to be a cog in the wheel. And that's that. There's no change. And I don't think you want that. I don't think you want that, you know, because it comes with a lot attached to it. A lot of deception, a lot of frustration, a lot of mistreatment. It's not something that you can do for long term. Six of Wands in reverse, you have the Queen of Cups. So good. Queen of Cups, all about nurturing, all about using your ability to see within things, you know. You have the Queen of Swords and the Queen of Cups opposite each other within this situation. These two energies, honest communication, but honesty within compassion. Sometimes we have to have compassion for ourselves, where we recognize where we're not being utilized properly, where we're being abused, where we are not being recognized for our contributions into things within jobs or within relationships. This is about really looking at ourselves, looking at the situation, and having compassion for ourselves to remove ourselves from it, okay? The Four of Cups in reverse, you have the Five of Pentacles. So yeah, this is letting go of a situation. It's walking away now. It's finally releasing yourself from it because you know it just brings detriment. There's not anything to it. You may have had the will and desire to fight for it and try, but it's like the reality is you have to let it go, Capricorn. You have to let it go. You know, it's that tenacity, which is totally like, admirable. Like, it's admirable. Like, I applaud you for having the tenacity and the guts to want to continue to try, but we also have to have the blunt honesty within ourselves and also the compassion within ourselves to recognize what's not healthy for us to be part of anymore, okay? Two of Wands in reverse, you have the Fool. So by letting this go, by finally choosing to let this go, it's a blessing. And I think you'll actually start to feel that way too. If this reading is for you, you'll start to feel that way, because what it does is it offers you the potential for something new with the Fool. The Fool is new beginnings, but it happens after we release and understand what's gone on in our previous experience. It's stepping away from something with an incredible amount of knowledge. The Fool moves forward from his past, it's new beginnings. It's taking everything into consideration. Look, the face is blank in this card. It's like starting life with a blank slate, or starting your new situation with a blank slate. That's great. There's nothing wrong with that. But whatever this situation is with a person or with like an organization, it has to be done. You can't look at it anymore. Like, you've looked at it until you're blank in the face. Like, you're done. The Hermit in reverse for hopes, fears, worries, concerns. We have the Seven of Wands. So if anything, and here we have that goat in the back. That's Aries energy, dealing with potential for the Emperor energy here. Goat energy here. The ram. Devil energy. I do want to mention it like that. Here it's like looking at a situation and recognizing that it doesn't work. You have to get above ground. You have to look at things for what they are. If you look at this card, you see the goat on the highest stone. Goats are notorious for like walking on mountains and ranges where it's almost impossible. Like, it's these vertical, vertical like cliffs that nobody could walk on, and they're just like running up them. Here we are above everything. Look at the card though, and it's like we have adversity with that wolf or the coyote. We've got others around us. There's blood on the ground. It's like you have to recognize where this has to end. The Seven of Wands talks about fighting. It talks about having to maintain your composure within situations with people that are not being fair to you. And it also causes a fair amount of anxiety here. And while I made reference to this goat being part of this devil energy, I also see that goat as being you, somebody in the reversal, or not reversal, in the same breath, somebody who does take care of themselves, somebody who does recognize that this isn't healthy for them, and you build your own situation. You go forth and do your own thing, whether it be unconventional or not, it's your thing. With this for the Hermit in reverse, this is talking about really evaluating a situation, recognizing that all it brings is stagnancy, frustration, anxiety, upset energy, and malcontent. Is that the word? Malice, frustration. It's desperate energy, and it doesn't feel good. And I feel that the Hermit in reverse is an evaluating point where it's like, this doesn't work for me anymore, Ten of Swords being the outcome of this reading. What do we have? Ten of Wands. So, Ten of Wands, Ten of Swords. Letting go of burden, accepting that things were unfair and they're going to remain unfair. Let's see. Sometimes that's kind of how the cards fall. Sometimes that's how life is. Like, sometimes you win when you lose. Sometimes you win when you lose. Okay. So let's go ahead and give you a clarification with the Nocturna deck, and then we will be done here. Show me energies for Capricorn, Sun, Moon, Rising, and Venus. June 2019. June 2019 for Capricorn, Sun, Moon, Rising, and Venus. Show me energy for Capricorn. You have two cards popping out. You have Asphodel and Mantaray. Interesting. Okay. Thank you. That's where it's coming from. I keep saying sometimes you win when you lose. There's a song, and I'm going to figure it out, and I'm going to put it in the description box below. And it's from Siouxsie Sioux, And the the album it came from is actually called Mantaray, and I cannot remember what it's called, but I don't know if I can put the link down there because I don't know about like legalities for YouTube, but I'll definitely put the title and you can go look at it if you choose to. Sometimes you win when you lose. And that's not the title, but it has that line. Sometimes you lose when you win, sometimes you win when you lose. That's what keeps coming up here. So Mantaray and Asphodel. Let's go ahead and read these cards. Mantaray. Grace, calmness. Despite being the world's largest ray, with a wingspan of up to 9 meters, the manta ray glides effortlessly through the water with grace and confidence. While manta rays will stay in the shallow waters for feeding and mating, they can dive as deep as 450 meters. As with the depths of the ocean, the manta ray reminds us to explore the depths of our emotions and with calmness and composure. Okay, I feel like calmness and composure, yes, but I also feel the acceptance of and not being worked up about it, not allowing ourselves to get so agitated. It's like, you've been done wrong. Okay, I accept it. Moving on. Asphodel. Asphodel. Feeling stuck, unable to move on, regret. Didn't we just say moving on? In the Greek underworld lies the fields of Asphodel. This is a realm where ordinary people who were not heroic enough for the Elysian fields, nor wicked enough for the pits of Tartarus, lie. In Victorian floriography, the flower means, "My regrets follow you to the grave." You are unable to move on from something. Is this anyone you need to stay away? Is there anyone you need to say I'm sorry to? I feel that that's kind of in reverse here. I feel that this is an energy from somebody or some corporation or something, like where you don't get the recognition that you deserve. You don't get the honor. You don't get, it's almost as if this is going to remain this way, and there's an acceptance in that. There's an acceptance in that. For some reason, Capricorn, we just have to accept it. So, all right, I'm going to let this go here. Yeah, my name is Isel. I'm on YouTube as The Altruistic Mystic. If you found that helpful, feel free to like, share, and subscribe. If you choose to donate, there's a donation link in the description box below. And for those of you that have donated, thank you so much. I really, really value that, and I appreciate it. And it's incredibly helpful, and it makes me feel appreciated, and I value that, and thank you. I appreciate it. So yeah, I'll be back in a couple of weeks for the mid-June reading of 2019. All right, good luck, you guys, and keep your chin up. Okay, take care. Bye-bye.